The Cloister at Sea Island, Georgia, opened in 1928 as the flagship resort of Sea Island Company. Founded on a barrier island off the Georgia coast, the development was the vision of Howard Coffin, who sought to create an American counterpart to Europe's grand resort destinations. With ambitious architecture, refined landscape design, and exceptional hospitality standards, Sea Island aimed to draw the affluent American leisure class to the Georgia coast in the same manner that Mediterranean resorts attracted their European counterparts. Over decades, the Cloister hosted U.S. presidents, world leaders, and the G8 summit in 2004. These events elevated its status beyond a luxury hotel, establishing it as one of the most prestigious resort addresses in the American South and one of the rare U.S. properties with genuine national institutional and diplomatic significance. In August 2010, Sea Island Company, the owner and operator of the Cloister and the broader Sea Island resort development, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. At the time, it represented the most significant bankruptcy involving a major American resort property since the luxury hospitality disruptions of the early 1990s. Importantly, the bankruptcy was not caused by operational failure at the Cloister itself. The resort continued generating positive operating cash flows throughout the period. Instead, distress stemmed from Sea Island Company's broader debt obligations. These included financing for extensive resort expansions and residential real estate development undertaken in the years leading up to the 2008 financial crisis. The debt service burden, calibrated to pre-crisis projections, became unsustainable under post-crisis market conditions. The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, FDIC, entered the picture through the 2009 failure of Silverton Bank, a Georgia community bank. The FDIC, as receiver, assumed Silverton's loans to Sea Island Company, becoming an inadvertent creditor whose cooperation was essential to any successful bankruptcy reorganization. Forensic entry point: the FDIC as inadvertent creditor. The core forensic insight of this case is the FDIC's unusual position, a federal banking regulator holding construction and development loans for a private luxury resort development. It found itself navigating a high-profile Chapter 11 reorganization, affecting a property of civic and diplomatic importance, all as a byproduct of a bank failure rather than any deliberate policy decision. If this is your first case file from this channel, subscribe now. Every episode builds another layer in understanding the architecture of institutional failure. Sea Island Company's pre-2010 financial structure mirrored patterns documented in this channel's construction loan trap, Case File 069, and Trophy Asset Trap, Case File 068. Aggressive development financing was assembled at the peak of the pre-2008 credit boom. Asset values and income projections were based on optimistic assumptions that the 2008 crisis swiftly invalidated. The company had pursued a major expansion program, including new residential real estate development on the island. Financing came primarily through construction loans and development facilities from Georgia community banks. Many of these banks had balance sheets heavily concentrated in coastal Georgia real estate, creating pronounced regional concentration risk. The 2008 crisis triggered simultaneous failures across these interconnected lending relationships. The Silverton Bank collapse, which brought the FDIC into the Sea Island credit structure, exemplified a broader wave of failures in Georgia's community banking sector. Multiple banks with similar portfolios, concentrated in coastal development projects, failed in close succession. Their loan portfolios transferred to the FDIC for administration under standard receivership procedures. Thus, the FDIC's role as creditor was not anomalous, but the predictable outcome of overlapping bank resolution responsibilities and Sea Island's financing choices. The company had relied heavily on the same regional banking ecosystem that the crisis was dismantling. A critical oversight in Sea Island's strategy was the concentration risk in its lending relationships. By depending primarily on Georgia community banks with correlated real estate exposures, the structure created a dangerous linkage. The same market shock harming the resort's development program also undermined its lenders. This correlation risk was inadequately priced or mitigated. At what point does heavy reliance on regional community banking relationships in development financing create vulnerability to correlated failures that diversified institutional lending might have avoided? Share your analysis in the comments. Appraisal, challenges, and reorganization. The 2010 bankruptcy required complex asset appraisals. Valuing a trophy resort like the Cloister, whose civic, architectural, and institutional significance commanded a genuine premium, within a distressed estate was particularly challenging. The broader development assets, especially residential real estate projects funded by pre-crisis loans, faced sharply reduced demand in the post-crisis coastal Georgia market. Notably, the Cloister's operating performance remained strong, with consistent positive cash flow even during the height of the crisis. This distinguished it from many cases in this archive where trophy assets suffered alongside their parent organizations. The resort's intrinsic operating value was clear and separable from the distressed residential development portfolio. The central appraisal and reorganization task was to isolate the trophy resort's ongoing business value from the devalued development assets. This separation enabled the restructuring of unsustainable debt while preserving operational continuity, an essential outcome given the resort's diplomatic and civic roles. Disruption could have damaged relationships with government and international partners. The FDIC's involvement necessitated coordination between federal banking regulatory interests and the private Chapter 11 process. The case navigated these challenges through established bankruptcy mechanisms, building on precedents like the Penn Central reorganization examined in Case File 034, which helped shape modern Chapter 11 frameworks for major corporate restructurings. Institutional dynamics and denial. This bankruptcy produced an institutional dynamic rarely documented in this form: a federal regulator participating in a private commercial bankruptcy, not by policy choice, but as a consequence of bank failure resolution. The FDIC's statutory mandate focused on maximizing recoveries for depositors and creditors of failed banks, rather than making long-term policy decisions about trophy resort ownership. This created tension with the property's broader civic significance and community interests, which extended beyond pure financial recovery. The institutional denial in the Sea Island case was distributed and systemic. It spanned company management, regional lenders with concentrated exposures, and the pre-crisis credit markets that had extended financing based on unsustainable assumptions. No single actor bore unique blame. The collective failure lay in assuming the coastal Georgia real estate boom would persist indefinitely, validating aggressive debt structures across the ecosystem. The FDIC's presence at the table represented the regulatory consequence of this systemic denial. An agency designed to safeguard depositors from bank failures became the inadvertent holder of a high-profile resort asset requiring patient capital and long-term stewardship, qualities not inherent to standard bank resolution frameworks. Resolution and aftermath. The Chapter 11 process successfully reorganized the company. The Cloister continued operations uninterrupted and emerged under new private ownership in 2010. The buyer group included private equity investors and experienced resort operators. Their thesis emphasized preserving the property's trophy status and civic relationships, supported by the patient capital that the prior development-era financing had lacked. Under new ownership, Sea Island has maintained its position as a premier destination resort. Management has focused on upholding its luxury positioning and institutional ties established through events like the 2004 G8 Summit. Broader lessons from the archive. Within this channel's 82-case archive, the Cloister at Sea Island case uniquely illustrates the convergence of three previously examined institutional failure patterns: the trophy asset trap's debt miscalibration, the construction loan trap's development financing vulnerabilities, and the 2008 crisis's activation of correlated regional banking failures. These intersected in one bankruptcy, drawing a federal regulator into the resolution of a nationally significant resort. The case extends insights from Case File 070 on CMBS impacts during the crisis, applying similar systemic dynamics to the community banking sector. Concentrated lending in the same regional market amplified shocks, creating coordination challenges evident in the FDIC's creditor role. The Cloister hosted the G8 Summit in 2004 and a complex bankruptcy reorganization in 2010. Both events underscore a consistent theme. While the resort's civic significance remained genuine and continuous, the financial structures layered above it repeatedly exposed vulnerabilities to debt overextension and market disruption, patterns documented throughout this archive. If this analysis has refined how you assess intersections of regional banking failures, development financing, and trophy resort bankruptcies, subscribe for future cases. The next examines a trophy property whose ownership model has successfully avoided these pitfalls. Given Sea Island Company's documented concentration in Georgia community bank lending relationships, what financing structures could most effectively have diversified the correlated risks activated by the 2008 crisis across its portfolio? This content was developed using artificial intelligence tools as part of the research, writing, and production process. All AI-generated material was subject to human review, editorial intervention, and approval before publication.